This is it. This is the moment the establishment feared would come. President Donald J. Trump is no longer playing defense. He is launching a full-scale takedown of the most protected people in the world. In one blow, he's moving to declassify the Epstein files and push out Jerome Powell from the Fed. And if you're about to find out why both of these moves are super connected, they cannot deny it. Why is the Epstein prison footage all of a sudden missing 3 critical minutes? And why was it stitched together in Adobe Premiere like some amateur YouTuber that was trying to hide the truth? Why is Jerome Powell spending $2.5 billion on renovations at the Federal Reserve while Americans can't even afford to buy a home? And why is President Trump calling Jerome Powell a quote unquote knucklehead and demanding his resignation right now? Well, here's a twist, guys. This is not just about Epstein or interest rates. This is about exposing a network of corruption that spans Wall Street, Washington, and intelligence circles who thought that they were untouchable. But now, not anymore, guys, because today, Donald Trump, President of the United States, and under his leadership, the cover-ups are about to be cracked wide open. You're about to hear what Speaker of the House just admitted about the Epstein list. You're going to hear what Ghislaine Maxwell's family is threatening to do in court. And you're going to see why insiders now believe Jerome Powell is just days away from stepping down. Guys, this is not just a scandal. This is the beginning of accountability. Now, question is, who goes down first? Okay, so we got President Donald J. Trump running the show, and right now he's fighting essentially a two-front war. This could essentially shake the foundations of Washington. Now, on one side, you got the Epstein cover-up, the disgusting tangle of blackmail, secrets, and missing footage, right? But on the other side, we've got the Federal Reserve, where Jerome Powell just spent $2.5 billion on some ridiculous luxury renovations while middle-class families are being crushed under mortgage rates and inflation. Now, Trump's not tiptoeing anymore. He is moving to declassify the Epstein files and oust Jerome Powell at the same time. Why? Because the American people deserve to know who's been protecting these predators and who's been sabotaging the economy. Now, before I continue, I just want to say, if you guys appreciate the news updates, hit the like button and subscribe. I appreciate you guys. So make no mistake, this is not about politics as usual. This is about a president taking the gloves off and delivering long overdue accountability to the elite class who thought they were untouchable. President Trump's message to Pam Bondi and Congress is crystal clear. Release it all. Every credible document, every name, every tape. And this message to Jerome Powell, step down or be removed. Wow. These are not empty threats. Trump is backed by a movement that has had enough gaslighting, enough excuses, and enough corruption hidden behind closed doors. So, guys, ask yourself, what happens when both walls come crashing down at the same time? Now, let's talk about Jerome Powell, because this wasn't just a polite disagreement over some interest rates. Trump didn't hold back. He called Powell a freaking knucklehead, a numbhead, guys. And yes, a stupid guy. He might have even said some other things, but I might have forgotten. But you know what? Trump, he's not wrong. Is he wrong or is he right? Because while Americans are struggling to buy houses, Jerome Powell approved a $2.5 billion renovation on the Fed's headquarters with new dining rooms, mealtime meeting spaces, and some massive cost overruns. Think about that, guys. Powell spent billions to upgrade the buildings where the elite make decisions about your money and my money and our parents' money. Guys, while first-time home buyers at the same time are being locked out the market. Does that sound fair? Like, Trump understands what's really going on. He's fighting to bring down interest rates to help Main Street to protect your dollar. But Jerome Powell, he's clinging to power while ignoring the debt crisis, inflation, and the American people. At this point, it's obvious tension is boiling. And now even President Trump's own housing director, Bill Pulte, says he's very confident Powell will resign soon. But if Powell, the question is Powell really preparing to walk away, or is that guy stalling for time in order to cover his tracks? And what does this have to do with the missing 3 minutes from the Epstein prison tape? Well, I'm gonna get to that in just a second. You're not going to believe what Wired magazine just exposed, guys. But let's go ahead and start with what might be the most underreported bombshell in Washington right now. President Trump's own Federal Housing Finance Agency Director, Bill Pulte, just publicly said that he's very confident Jerome Powell will resign soon. Not in a year, not next spring, but soon. Pulte didn't mince words. He said Powell has lost the trust of the American people. And he said, and I quote, "This building is going to be the end of his career." Wow. That building? Well, some of you guys are like, well, what building? I'm talking about the $2.5 billion renovation to the Federal Reserve that Powell authorized on your dime. Yeah, that building. So let's be clear, guys. Powell isn't just in hot water because of interest rates. He's in hot water because he refused to listen to the president of the United States. Trump asked him nicely to cut rates, to ease the $37 trillion debt load, to make credit more accessible, and to boost working families. And what did Jerome Powell do? He doubled down on elitist policies while quietly pushing a $1 billion construction project through. And now, surprise, surprise, he's asked the Inspector General to review the spending. Not because he wants accountability, but because he wants time. This guy is stalling. It's like when your parents used to tell you to go to bed when you're like 5 years old and you're like stalling because you don't want to go to bed. Here's the question. Is Jerome Powell just incompetent, or is he staying to cover up something far worse? I'm going to let you all decide, because the American people already have. But that's just one side of this war. Because while Jerome Powell is trying to cover up overspending, Pam Bondi, she's under fire to finally release the truth. The world's been demanding this for years, the full Epstein file. Now, let's be real, guys. $166 a month, that isn't just savings. That's a pretty significant raise. Buck, he told me that he was surviving on Social Security and he felt like he was just barely scraping by. Does that sound familiar to anybody? But after reaching out to Chapter, he's now saving $166 every single month. Now, Chapter didn't just save him some money. They gave him some breathing room. That's why I stand behind them. This is why I've partnered with Chapter. They care about people who have been overlooked. Give our friends at Chapter a call right now and see how much they can help you lower your cost of Medicare. Phone number is 909-563-8279, or hit them up on the web at askchapter.org/Ron. This might be the help that you've been praying for. All right. So Trump said it loud and clear, guys. Just released everything. Just release everything, not pieces, not summaries, not some redacted junk, everything. Because while the media wants to pretend that the Epstein story is old news, Trump knows better. We all do. There are names, there are tapes, and there's a public that remembers. Comment remember if you remember. And so now Wired magazine just confirmed what many suspected all along. There are nearly 3 minutes missing from the so-called raw prison footage of Epstein's final hours. Not only that, the video was stitched together in Adobe Premiere from like 2 different source files. So this wasn't just some random glitch. This was a deliberate edit. So who did it? Who approved it? And what's on those missing 3 minutes, right? We were told that the footage showed Epstein alone, that there was no one else in the room, that it was clear as day. Well, Dan Bongino, he even vouched for it. But now the footage it's full of holes, and the timeline doesn't add up at all. And it gets even worse because Wired magazine also uncovered that the video was resaved multiple times over a 3.5 hour period. A very sloppy trail that points to a rushed, hurry up, amateur cover-up job, right? And Pam Bondi, she's sitting on the unedited files. She has them. Trump's already told her, stop the freaking excuses, release it all. So if the footage was tampered with, who's still trying to protect Epstein's network? And what happens if those names are released while Jerome Powell's power collapses? So we've got a lot to talk about, and it has a lot to do with the deep state. Now, when you find out that a prison surveillance tape in the most high-profile case of the century is missing almost 3 minutes, you don't ask why by accident. You ask who's hiding what, right? Wired magazine didn't just expose a massive glitch. They exposed a pattern of tampering, digital fingerprints that point straight to the swamp. Now, according to Wired magazine, the raw Epstein footage wasn't just trimmed. It was stitched together from two separate clips, edited in Adobe Photoshop, and ultimately saved repeatedly over a 3.5 hour period. Now, let me ask you, what kind of security footage gets edited like a Netflix trailer, right? They even pinpointed where the missing time was cut at exactly 11:58:58. Okay, 11:58 and 58 seconds. That's not just sloppy, that is deliberate, and it's terrifying. I mean, you remember what they told us? There was no one in the room. Well, now we can't even trust the room that we were shown. The metadata, the digital timestamp evidence, confirms that the public was lied to. So here's the kicker. This is not just a tech issue. It's a coordinated cover up. They were trying to blame, remember, you might have heard, they were trying to blame, say, oh, it's like an old VCS and, VCS. It's an old VCR and it does something every 24 hours or some nonsense, like it resets every, I didn't buy that. Did y'all buy that lie? So this raises the real question. Are we looking at a deep state still protecting its own years after Epstein died behind bars? Or maybe, and more importantly, what happens when that protection starts to fail? Because the fallout isn't just hitting bureaucrats and intelligence officers. It's actually hitting people we trusted. Dan Bongino, patriot, fighter, loyal to the game, loyal to the core. He was one of the loudest voices saying the tape is real. It proves everything. This man went on national TV, stood by the footage, and defended it as ironclad. But now that tape is in question, and Dan's credibility is on the line. And I want to say this clearly. Dan Bongino is a good man. I believe his intentions were solid, but even good men, they can be misled when they're given doctored intel. So you got to ask, was Dan Bongino tricked by bad sources, or even worse, was he used to buy time for a bigger lie to unfold? So this is what President Trump has been warning us about all along. The enemy doesn't always wear a blue tie or carry a CNN badge. Sometimes the deception comes from the shadows inside of our own house. But Trump, he's not abandoning anyone. He's not doing that. He's not burning bridges. He's not throwing anybody under the bus. He's just demanding the truth for all of us. But the pressure isn't just coming from Trump or the MAGA base. Ghislaine Maxwell's own family is now threatening a legal power move that could really rip this entire thing wide open from the inside. Could Maxwell actually be the one to bring down the network from prison? Or is she just bluffing, trying to save herself? Well, we don't talk about that. But while the media keeps telling us the Epstein case is over, Ghislaine Maxwell's family just flipped the script, because now they're threatening to blow it all open, and not with a TV interview or a leak, but with a full-scale legal move straight from inside prison walls. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell's family has confirmed that they're preparing to file a writ of habeas corpus. This is a very powerful legal tool that challenges the very foundation of her imprisonment. Their argument that the 2008 non-prosecution agreement signed with Epstein should protect her too, and that the government has engaged in misconduct so severe it would have changed the entire outcome of her trial. In plain English, she's saying, you cheated to convict me, and I got the proof. Wow. And the most shocking part here, the family is threatening to use the Epstein client list, the real list, as leverage. That means names. That means deals. That means blackmail turned on its head. So here's the moral crossroads. Is Maxwell bluffing to protect herself, or does she finally have the system right where she wants it? Now, we've seen all sorts of desperate people talk, but we've also seen cornered insiders drop names when their backs are against the wall. And so if Ghislaine Maxwell pulls the trigger, the entire power structure might not survive the fallout. But Maxwell she's not the only one who's pushing for this, because in a rare show of spine from Capitol Hill, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson just gave the green light to the one thing that the deep state fears the most: total transparency. So when asked whether he would support Marjorie Taylor Greene or Anna Paulina Luna, is subpoenaing Epstein documents from the DOJ. House Speaker Mike Johnson didn't hesitate. He said plain and simple, I support transparency. Guys, that changes everything, doesn't it? Because this isn't just about media pressure or social media outrage. This is official government leadership aligned with Trump saying, let the people see the truth. So that means the Epstein list isn't some conspiracy theory anymore. It's an open case file, a set of documents, a ticking time bomb with names, dates, locations, maybe even direct links to the institutions that still think that they can silence us. So let me ask you, if the speaker is ready, if Trump is demanding it, if the metadata proves tampering, then what's Pam Bondi still waiting for, right? So I want to talk about that right now, because while the truth about Epstein is clawing its way to the surface, Trump's administration is quietly fixing the very problems Jerome Powell helped to create. The housing market, inflation, mortgage access. Trump is restoring what the Fed ignored, but Jerome Powell, he's blind to it all. So while Epstein and this whole Epstein scandal is grabbing all sorts of headlines, President Trump's team is quietly fixing the very problems that Jerome Powell pretended not to see. And that's where the second half of the takedowns actually becomes even more important, because it's not just about justice. It's about restoring prosperity to the American people. So under President Trump's leadership, renters can now use their rental history and even crypto assets to qualify for mortgages, thanks to reforms implemented by the FHFA director, Bill Pulte. This is real action. This is what leadership looks like: lowering barriers, empowering families, and giving young Americans a shot at home ownership again. Meanwhile, Jerome Powell, he raised interest rates so high that home builders stopped building, shrinking supply and jacking up home prices even more. He approved a $2.5 billion Fed headquarters makeover with meeting rooms and luxury upgrades, while your grocery bill doubled and your mortgage offer was vanished. So, and when he was asked about inflation, Jerome Powell, he just shrugged his shoulders. What about debt? He just kind of hid behind the Fed's dual mandate argument. But Trump, he understands that every rate hike, every delayed construction project, every missed mortgage approval hurts real people. Powell, you don't even see it. He's too high up. He's too elite. So who do you trust? The man helping renters become homeowners, or the man renovating meeting rooms with all your money? So this is what draining the swamp really looks like. It's not just firing people. It's dismantling the systems that protected them in the first place. It's declassifying the Epstein files so that we finally know who's enabled evil, and pushing out Fed elites like Powell, who made the economy work for the powerful and not for you. President Trump, he's doing what no other president dared to do before him. He's taking them all down, and he's doing it for the people, guys. He's not doing it for revenge. Contrary to popular belief, he's doing it for accountability. He's doing it for transparency. He's doing it for truth. He's doing it for every single American who's seen the corruption for what it is, for every American who's been ignored or gaslit or overcharged and shut out. So right now, the walls are clearly closing in. The Epstein firewall is cracking. The Jerome Powell protection bubble is bursting. And the MAGA movement, I would say it's probably stronger than ever. Y'all let me know. So drop a comment down below and tell me, do you support Trump releasing it all and forcing Powell out? And if you're tired of being lied to, if you want the truth, if you're ready to see these corrupt institutions finally held accountable, then don't just watch this video. I want you to share it, because the next big reveal, this could come any day now. And I'm watching, you're watching, and so is the rest of the world. So subscribe for breaking truth. Comment if you're with Trump. Watch the next video below. You're not going to believe what just dropped. We'll see you next time.